So, you or a friend happen to stumble across this great and wonderfully complex game, SCP Secret Laboratory. But there's a problem. You've decided to install the game and open it up and there's no tutorial in sight. So you decide to hop into the first server you see and try to learn the ropes and...
Fuck you, Tony. One of them's got
you have no idea what you're doing. And you think, maybe this game isn't for me. Well, fret not. This video will cover the foundation level knowledge you'll need to get started in your journey. So strap in, brew a nice tea with a splash of milk and a teaspoon of sugar, and get ready to absorb all that I have to teach. To understand anything in a cell, you need to first understand what your goal is, and how to achieve it at a fundamental level. First and foremost, with all goals out of the way, a cell is a game of survival and having fun. There is of course built-in win conditions, but they have no impact, and in all my hours I've never actually cared about accomplishing them. So, don't worry about doing everything right or following the norm so strictly. It's important to note that the game can be played in a variety of ways. A cell is practically just a sandbox for you and either your friends or a bunch of random people to play in. Sometimes your enjoyment can come down to just finding the right server for you. You may be more interested in a roleplay experience where you can just be silly with friends.
Oh, seems like Dumbledore's passed on. What a shame.
No, Professor Snape, what happened to him? You
I
wouldn't know, would you?
I believe Voldemort touched him with his cheese touch, Potter.
You may be looking for a vanilla PvP experience where you just want to play the game as it is.
Need to seize the advantage of them being low.
Or you may be looking for a highly modded, intense and much more complex version of the game.
Bro, you're insane.
Huh.
Now, you'll need to look through the server list to find servers which appeal to you, and because I'm a vanilla nerd, I don't really have much experience in modded servers, although I'm sure some people in my Discord, that you should totally join right now, the people in there are really friendly and will basically answer any question you have. Or alternatively, the comments can give you some help and maybe fill in some gaps and information I missed out in this video, which brings me to another point. There'll be a pinned comment where I'll be noting any changes to the game or any major things that I missed out on, which I'll be constantly updating, seeing as, you know, this game is constantly being updated. Once the video is over, I'd highly suggest you give it a read. Now that personal preference and all that shebang are out the way, into the actual gameplay. A cell's gameplay comes down to killing all the enemies or escaping the facility, or, well, in a couple of cases, both. To give you a bit more context for what each role needs to do, you need to understand the basic layout of the facility. Light containment is where the escape roles spawn at the start of the game, or what some would see as vulnerable prey. Here you can just barely find what you need to survive alongside a machine named 914. Now, because this is an intro tutorial, I don't want to flood you with a whole bunch of information that you're not going to remember, so I'll go through the very basics and elaborate in follow-up videos. Heavy containment is where the big, bad, evil SCPs will spawn. These are horrible monsters with a wide array of abilities, controlled by other players. And, well, if you aren't an SCP, they're going to want to kill you, so, you know, run. Heavy is where you'll find high-end equipment, specialized weapons, and the activation panel to enable or disable the Alpha Warhead. More on that later. Entrance Zone is a strange no-man's land. It doesn't really have a whole lot here, and the SCPs usually won't find it beneficial to fight in. This zone just kind of acts like a bridge between Heavy and Surface. Speaking of which, Surface Zone is a grand open-air expanse, an area you don't really want to stick around in unless absolutely necessary. If you have an escape role, you can leave through the escape tunnel to be transformed into a military role, granting you better equipment and a victory point for your team. Additionally, you can find the Alpha Warhead engagement panel here, requiring a high-level access keycard to activate, but once you do so, you're able to completely destroy anyone unlucky enough to not escape the facility to surface, as well as permanently lock off entry to the facility, which is typically a good way to end the game. Okay, great, now zones are finished and out of the way, I can get to class roles. Also, just as a reminder, I do plan to do separate videos for each of these roles, including more information about all the zones, so you might be able to find more useful information on those in a playlist in the description, or, well, if I haven't made them yet, you can always subscribe and be notified when I do make them. First, our escape roles. Class D has you playing as an escaped prisoner, marked for death. It was in the staff's plan to kill you, so if you don't cooperate or work nicely with them, they might just still go through with that plan. You'll start with absolutely nothing apart from sheer numbers. There'll be a bunch of fellow D-Class members, although some may not care as much for teamwork as the others. You'll need to scrounge around in light containment to locate a keycard to leave. It's unlikely you'll find one of these, so you may need to resort to one of 3 alternative options. Either finding a gun and killing any scientists or facility guards you see to, take their keycards, hiding and cowering in a corner until all the big bad monsters have killed your associates so you can loot their corpses, or finding a keycard of any tier and upgrading it in 914. Now, you've heard me mention 914 a couple times now, but you still don't know what it is, so I owe you some explanation. 914 is the crown jewels of light. You can upgrade almost any item into a better version of itself by simply entering this chamber, holding out or dropping your items, moving this knob to fire, and pushing this button. Once that's done, wait a few seconds and your items will be upgraded. However, there are a lot of 914 recipes to get you practically any item in the game, so I'll leave a link to the full chart in the description. If you have a second monitor, it wouldn't be a bad idea to just have this open too and refer to every now and again, but you can pretty much get away with just upgrading everything on fine. Keycards are the main draw to upgrade in 914. There's a pair of massive gates that stop you from entering and leaving this room, which you'll need any tier of keycard to open. And once that's done, using the previous methods, you can upgrade your keycard to give you more permissions. Luckily for you, the game already has a built-in graphic to show you what permissions each card grants you. I've decided to hop in game to show you off all these permissions and what exactly each one of them does. So, as you can see, every single keycard of every single tier will have this top left permission highlighted. This permission just means you can open and close 914. This second permission, which is the box with the circle around it, just means you can open certain SCP-based rooms, such as this candy room here. You can open it with this card, can't open it without it, or with this card. This third permission currently does nothing, so I don't know why it's there at all. This fourth permission, the man running out the door, lets you open up gates. These gates will take you to entrance zone, so, you kind of want one of these to escape. This fifth permission, the nuclear icon, will allow you to open up the protective hatch on the nuke. Do remember though that you still need to engage it in heavy containment. The small pistol permission here will allow you to open up smaller armories containing low caliber weapons such as the ones in checkpoints, or here in light containment, or the heavy containment armory. The permission which looks like a rifle will allow you to open up rifle cases. For example, if I try to use a permission with a pistol, I cannot. With a rifle? Kablam. There's also some armories scattered around where you can't open the larger sections of it. That permission, or this permission rather, will let you do that as well. For example here. But with this card, I cannot. You can only open these smaller lockers. This bottom middle permission, which looks like a strange rifle of some sorts, allows you to open up the micro containment. This can be found in heavy, and is a special weapon dedicated to killing SCPs. The last two permissions are pretty self-explanatory. The checkpoint permission allows you to go through checkpoints such as this, or the one in light, and the intercom permission just allows you to open up the intercom, so you can kind of yell obscenities on the mic throughout the whole facility and have everyone in the game hear it. Penis! You can also find bulletproof lockers scattered around the map, which contain SCP items in them. I'll cover these in another video, but they all grant different, very powerful effects. To open these lockers, you need a combination of the containment permission and the checkpoint permission. Once you have a keycard good enough, your goal is to escape the facility as a whole. As a quick tip, you can avoid upgrading your keycards if you find both the scientist and facility manager keycard. Using the facility manager card to open the checkpoint into heavy, and the scientist card you can open one of these two rooms, known as 096's chamber and 106's chamber. Both of these will have a high access keycard inside of them for you to use to escape. This is often a much better option because of how much of a death trap light is, as well as 914. Now, you're vulnerable, unarmed, and extremely easy prey, so you kinda want to get out of light as fast as you can. To actually escape, you need to find checkpoints leading from light to heavy, checkpoints from heavy into entrance, then find either of the gates from entrance to surface and run as fast as you can to the escape tunnels. Escaping as a D-Class will turn you into a Chaos Insurgent and grant some tickets for your team. More on that in a minute. Do note as well that until a Chaos Spawn Wave appears, it's likely anyone who isn't D-Class will either want you dead, or won't exactly have your best interests in mind. Facility guards are especially prone to immorally slaughtering D-Class on sight, so, just keep your eyes open. Our other escape role, Scientist, has you playing as a highly valuable member of the Foundation staff, caught off guard doing their job. Unlike the D-Class, who just spawn in their cells, you'll spawn next to one of many high-value areas in light, whilst already having a keycard and a medkit. This gives you an incredibly large advantage over D-Class, seeing as you don't need to find your basic needs to survive. Their method of escape is exactly the same as D-Class, although this time you won't need to worry about facility guards killing you. Additionally, when you escape as a Scientist, you'll become a member of the MTF military, granting you an arsenal of equipment and, of course, tickets for your team. One of the other roles you can get at the start of the round is Facility Guard. You're a member of staff, equivalent to a mall cop in this facility, equipped with a gun that can effectively put down a D-Class threat or potentially scare off an SCP if you're good enough. I've heard people mention this role as the hardest to play and one that just spawns in to die a minute later, so I highly advise you watch my Facility Guard guide video when that's out. Your goal is entirely to survive and kill all enemies, being SCPs, Chaos Insurgents, and technically D-Class players, but it's always better to escort them out of the facility, seeing as once you detain and escort a D-Class player out, they'll turn to MTF, which is often a very helpful hand to have. Finally, the last role you can spawn as at the start of the game is SCP. You'll spawn as one of several horrifying monsters or machines, each with its own unique abilities, strengths, and weaknesses. And because their abilities are so unique, I'll go through each and every one of these SCPs in another video, but just know that anything that isn't an SCP is an enemy. Unless they can strike up a bargain with you, they deserve nothing more than death. I should have mentioned by now that all roles can speak locally using the default keybind of Q, and through radios with V. SCP roles don't have the luxury of talking to other roles and can only communicate through the SCP chat with the Q key. Only SCPs will be able to hear you, making bargaining with other roles difficult, and often not really worth your time. Seeing as everyone is a target to you, that means you're also a target to everyone. You'll want to enter the game slaughtering as many people as you can before they get enough equipment to challenge you, usually meaning you want to head into light containment first. After around 6 minutes of game time, however, a wave of military will spawn. This is a formidable fighting force that will hunt you down and kill you if you aren't careful. You'll either need to work with your team to split them up, or group up with your team to become a death stack, the latter being harder to pull off as it requires each member to pull their weight with mechanical skill and game knowledge. Either way, if you play split up and not communicating, your odds of winning and survival will severely plummet. There are two last roles to cover, MTF and Chaos Insurgent. Luckily for you, these are pretty simple. These are your military roles. You'll play as one of these whenever you escape, or around every 6 minutes in a spawn wave if you've died. Your one goal is to kill everything that isn't a friend. As an MTF, your friends are just Scientists, Facility Guards, and of course other MTF, whereas Chaos Insurgents, your friends are just Chaos Insurgents and remaining D-Class. Typically, an MTF spawn wave is much more likely to happen, especially early on in the round. This is because they start with more tickets. Tickets are an unseen variable that determines which spawn wave will happen. Many acts can earn your side more tickets, such as killing members of an opposing faction, killing an SCP, and escaping. Alright, take that all in? Great. Thanks for watching the first of many guides I hope to post on this channel. If you found this helpful or think this would help new players, please consider liking and potentially subscribing. Additionally, my channel is full of gameplay from every role's perspective in long-form, full-round style videos where you get to see the intricacies of how to play, to edited highlight videos which show you the lighter, more roleplay and fun-focused side of SL. Finally, I myself have a bunch of hours in SL, but I'm still learning every day. If you think I missed out on something, if I did something you didn't like, or if you have your own tips and tricks, please feel free to comment. This series is built off of community involvement and feedback. As I said, this is my first of many guides I plan to make, so your comments can exponentially make them better. Oh, and don't forget to join the Discord, it's pretty cool.